Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. I know there's going to be some people that are still waiting in line or are distracted by the Apple event happening right now for the new iPhone, but we'll see. 2 cameras, that's confirmed. Amazon leaked their specs, so dual camera on the back, no more headphone jack. That's all you need to know for now. You'll come back to it later. Thank you guys for coming out. I try and so in fairness to everyone, if this is a topic you guys are familiar with, I apologize, but I want to make sure that for each of these meetings that happen during the semester, I want to kind of switch topics up from time to time and make sure that I get a chance to at least address some questions from everyone about top-level things, and then if people have specific questions about networks or strategies or anything like that, give some time at the end for you to ask whatever specific questions you're dealing with, and hopefully help everyone else with if they have any questions as well. If you know someone that can't be here that would like to be here, I am recording this, so we will have a link for this ready to go pretty much as soon as this is over. So I'll send that out to anyone that's interested, as well as making it publicly available on the Facebook group. I wanted this sort of presentation to talk about statistics and analytics, because it's a question we get a lot, not just from other groups, but internally, is what are we talking about when we talk about analytics, measurement, In other words, why bother? The question is, we do all this stuff, and we get an audience, or we think we get an audience, and we look at numbers, and we look at, posts get certain numbers more than others, and the question ends up becoming, why does any of this matter? Why can I be sure what I'm doing is effective, and why can I be sure that I'm not wasting my time or my department's time and resources by syncing what I'm doing into social media? And I got this from Simon Sinek, who's a really popular speaker for business right now, and his thing is to start with why and build out from there. So when it comes to what you're doing social media for, whether it's for a department, for an academic department, administrative department, knowing why you're doing it is always the first step in being successful. But once you know why you're doing it, you have to be able to measure how effective you are at doing it. And it's easy to start with what I like to call counting statistics, which are the biggest numbers you see when you pull up any of these pages. It's audience, it's likes, it's comments, it's shares. It's stuff that's very easy to digest. It's, today I had this big round number of things happen on my Facebook page, or it's over the course of the week I've had these 12 or 15 things happen, and this is why they're good or not. The problem with counting statistics is that they're very low detail. They're very easy to make whatever you want them to say. If you want to say, hey, I had 10 likes on this post, where you normally get 30, unless I tell you that I normally get 30, if I just tell you I got 10, that doesn't really mean anything. Because you could say, oh, that's pretty good. Or you could say, oh, wow, that's like way less than what I normally get. So starting with counting statistics and just staying there really doesn't serve any purpose other than just getting it over with and sending a number to someone that asked for a number and moving on with your life. Which, if your goal in this is to get someone off of your back, that's a great way to get them off your back. But if your goal is really to figure out why, is what you're doing effective, then you're going to have to go a little bit deeper than just counting numbers. And you're going to have to go a little bit more about context. It's hard to kind of see, but each of these things down here are things that you sit on. But they all serve incredibly different purposes. And like I said, we had 100 people sit down, at our place of business this week. Well, 10 of them sat down in a pew versus an office chair versus a beach chair versus a dentist chair. Very different things that serve very different purposes, and the statistics around them are very different from each other. But at the end of the day, they're all things you sit in. And social media is a lot like that. Outreach and Engagement's Facebook page, the context for that page's existence is incredibly different than athletics. It's serving roughly the same audience, but for two very different reasons. And to measure them exactly the same is to ignore that context. It's to ignore what makes you unique, what makes your page unique, what makes the audience you're trying to serve unique, and it completely just throws all that context out the window, again, in favor of counting stats, which, again, are great if your only goal is to get someone off your back about, hey, I need the numbers for the Facebook page this week. If that's the only goal, awesome. But context matters. If you really want to measure these things well, you need to keep that context in mind. So if we're going to focus on the stats that matter and kind of take the one step beyond just counting numbers, we could go and do semester-long courses into social media analytics, and I really have no desire to do that, and I'm sure neither do you. So for just this sort of very basic intro, I want you to think about statistics in two sort of buckets in terms of the stats that matter. Who is my audience, and are they engaging with me? If you want to think of it this way, who is my audience is sort of those counting statistics. But it's not just numbers. You've got page engagements, you've got post engagements, your likes, your comments, your retweets, your favorites, all of that stuff. But it goes beyond just what they do, and it goes more into who they are. And you'll be able to see the tools that some of these networks provide you that give you a very clear picture into the actual people that your audience is comprised of, not just names on a profile or profile pictures, but the actual people behind those profiles. And you'll be able to see change over time. And so if part of your goal is to better understand your audience so that you can provide better content for your audience and what they're trying to get out of your page, knowing who the audience is goes a long way in saying, all right, my audience is people that like my page. Well, that could be anyone, it could be anything. You don't really know beyond that. If you can go in and say, my audience is this demographic, they have these interests, and they behave in this way towards my content, that gives you a much better idea as to who the people are you're reaching and what they're interested in and what they're doing. This next part is, are they engaging with me? That is what they do when they hit your page. And this is the one that requires a lot more context, depending on what you're trying to get your Facebook or your social media account to do. If you're trying to get them to just learn more about your page or learn more about your content and you just want to leave it at learning, you don't necessarily need them to take any action, your numbers are going to look a lot different than someone that wants to generate a lot of clicks, a lot of likes, a lot of engagement. And again, context matters. So if you're an education-based page and you just want people to read your posts and you don't necessarily want them to do anything beyond read your posts, your engagement numbers might look lower than someone whose goal is to get you to visit their website by any means necessary. And that's okay. But you need to know that context in order to understand if what you're trying to do is effective or not. So knowing who your audience is and knowing whether or not they are engaging with you, you can basically break down all of the analytics that you really only ever need to care about into those two buckets. And so what I'm going to do the rest of this presentation is I'm going to show you where you can find those two buckets on your social media accounts, on Facebook and on Twitter, and couldn't do this more than a couple months ago, but also on Instagram. So we'll start with Facebook. And if you've never used Facebook Insights, it's really, really deep. And I say deep very, very carefully because there is a lot of stuff there. If you go and you look at your page, when you're logged in as admin mode, you'll see the little Insights link up here at the top. Even though Facebook pages have changed recently, and they'll keep changing until Facebook gets bored and just forgets about them, all the stuff that used to be up here is now over here on the left, but they've kept the main navigation up here. So Insights, that is where you go to get this. And these are your counting statistics. So that's a great source of top level, get my boss off my back numbers right there. Taking it the next step though, there's a lot of information here that you can pick from. And if you export it and you want to get like a spreadsheet, if you've never read a Facebook export spreadsheet, it is terrifying because it's very long, it's very complicated, it's not particularly well organized, and they put a whole lot of stuff in there that you don't care about. So cutting through sort of the clutter, if you don't know exactly specifically what metric you're looking for, and you're just looking for the who is my audience and are they engaging with me, who the audience is on Facebook Insights is over here on this link on the left where it says people. So if you click people, you get something that looks like this. Now this chart right here doesn't tell you a ton by itself unless you know what you're looking at. Exporting this data from Facebook gives you a lot of information. And again, it's in a spreadsheet that's not particularly well organized, but the spreadsheet that comes out of this is way better than just the generic bulk export from Facebook. So this tells me, and this is USI's Facebook page. So this is what the Facebook Insights look like for USI's Facebook page. Right now I have just your fans selected. So this is a demographic breakdown of all the people that like the USI Facebook page. It's about 66-33, or it's about 2/3, 1/3 women to men. And you can see the demographic breakdown from there. And then you can see sort of the country, city, language. They have a whole lot more data than just what they're showing you on this chart. But all of that's in the export. So if you want to export that into a spreadsheet, you'll get everything. You'll get exact number breakdowns into how many people are followed to each demographic category. You can also do this over time if you export it, so you can see change over time. So if over time this has gone from 60-40 to 66-33 or 66-34, I can know that. And I can take a look back over time and saying, all right, is there anything I did that caused my Facebook page to shift more towards a female audience? Or is it just the market?
Facebook in that age group.
Is it the market? And so that's you can't really answer those questions well unless you know what you're looking at. So this gives you an idea of the who. The other nice thing is that if you see over here, it says your fans, people reached, and people engaged. We, in the social media sort of advisory group that I head, we really look at this one right here, people engaged. Because what that does is it says, all right, I'm stripping away all the people that just liked your page once and never visit ever again. I'm stripping away people that see your posts but don't actually do anything with them. And I'm only going to report on the demographics of the people that engage with your post, which means either click it, like it, share it, or comment on it. That ultimately is really who your audience is, because they're the ones that are going to see your posts organically over time. The more Facebook moves towards not actually showing you any page content unless you are a fan of that page, and I say fan, I mean like you actually like are a fan. You don't just click something once and move on. That's going to be a way more important demographic to know, because those are the people that are actually going to see the stuff you put out there. For USI, when we click on people engaged, this goes even higher, this goes even lower, this goes way down, this goes way up. So our people engaged audience is more female and much older. And you'd think about it, if you just looked at who our fans were, you'd think, oh yeah, that's a lot of students, 18 to 24, 25 to 34. Hey, that's a pretty decent, age range of students. Like you said, we're not actually reaching those students with our content. And if we are reaching them, they're not engaging with our content. The people that are engaging with our content, 35 to 44, 45 to 54, 55 to 64. The mothers, aunts, uncles demographic, or the faculty, staff, retirees demographic. And so something we've done, because of this is we've geared our Facebook content away from student-focused to more general community-focused and even parent-focused content. And we've seen a lot of things go up because of it. But we weren't able to make that decision until we took a step back and thought, hey, are we actually reaching who we think we're reaching? And the answer was no. You can do this all for your page too. No matter how big or small your audience is, this breakdown is here. So take a look at it and find out, maybe for the first time, who the people are that are actually looking at your page and interacting with your page. Yeah?
So you're saying, okay, so I'm trying to understand. So you're telling me that in age group, I think it says 35 to 44.
Yeah.
And then the next two age groups up.
45 to 54.
Yeah, that they're more engaged than the other two. But when you combine those percents, the other two comes out to be much higher. I mean, together those three are 26%.
These are just fans.
Oh, so what's the engaged look like?
Much different. I just took a screenshot of this one. If I go in and I look at the engaged, you can see those even out. And it'll even show you the split as to these are your fans versus these are your engaged.
Okay, so I didn't realize that you were talking about something more.
This is just a static screenshot. Yeah, this is just a static screenshot. All of these, if you actually go into Facebook, are links. So if you click on these links, it'll show you different graphs based on which of these you have selected.
Gotcha.
So that's who they are. What they do is a bit trickier. Actions on page, in terms of like liking a page or leaving a review on a page, it's still there, but it moves around a lot. And we don't get a lot of reviews on Facebook. We get a few. They're either really, really good or really, really bad. Very little in between. And so we take the good and we say thanks. We take the bad and we pass it up the respective chain if need be. But that's about it. Posts on page. So Facebook has basically killed the post on page. So if you go and you leave a comment on some company's page, like page wall, we'll get a notification of it, but odds that anyone will actually see it are very, very small, besides like the administrator. So for what they do, for the purposes of this, I'm going to focus on the actual posts. So by clicking on this little posts link over here, it takes you to this, which this is just the graph part of it, because the rest of it's just text, and that doesn't really look good in a presentation. So this is clicking on posts will take you to sort of the basic, here's what you've posted, here's what people have done with that post. It breaks it down by type on Facebook, so just a plain text comment versus a photo versus a link versus a video. It'll kind of show you which of those are getting more engagement versus those that aren't. It will show you when your fans are online, which is really helpful if you're trying to figure out when you should post. Knowing when most of your fans are online goes a good way in figuring out if you're going to reach the most people. As you can tell, we get a definite bump at around 9 o'clock at night, and we get pretty much no one at 3 o'clock in the morning, which makes sense. But from basically business hours, so from 8 to 5, it's pretty constant. So when we schedule our posts out, if we want to reach a very large amount of people, we consider sharing it at 9 p.m., knowing that people that are on Facebook at 9 p.m. based on viewing habits aren't necessarily students. I mean, they might be, but it's also people just checking Facebook before they go to bed. Whether it's on their phone or on their computer. It's one of the last things they do before they go to bed at night. It's like reading, except instead of reading a book before you go to bed, now you read Facebook. It is what it is. So we're cognizant of that. Throughout the week, doesn't really make much of a difference when we post day of the week because it's all practically the same. Yours might be different. You might not get any traffic at all on the weekends. You might only get traffic on the weekends. Again, when people engage with your post, Facebook knows it, and Facebook is willing to tell you. Up here, you've got 3 more of those links. When your fans are online. Post types breaks that down, like I said earlier, by comment, photo, link, video. So it kind of shows you generically which types of posts are the best performing for your page. If photos perform better for you than comments, consider sharing more photos. If you guys do really good with video, consider sharing more video. It doesn't have to be your video. It can be other people's YouTube links that you find relevant or old video. We've used a lot of, since the start of the semester, we've started doing a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit of live streaming straight to Facebook. And in very, very limited sample sizes, I can say that it's been pretty successful in terms of reaching people. I know we've talked a little bit about Periscope in the past, and this is Facebook's answer to Periscope. And seems across the board to be more effective at reaching people than Periscope is. So if you've got a steady hand and a verified Facebook page, you can live stream to Facebook. Now, it doesn't mean people will watch, especially if what you're live streaming is the view outside your window. But if you're at an event, or if your department has, let's say, a table in the breezeway, or some other event where you want to kind of share with your audience, hey, something's happening right now, consider doing a Facebook live stream because people seem to be engaging it. Again, that's got to be from a phone. You have to have a verified Facebook page, and you have to have a pretty steady hand, or else you'll make a lot of people sick, and no one wants that. Any questions about Facebook Insights before we move on to Twitter? Yeah.
I don't have a question about Insights. I do have a question about live streaming.
Yeah.
If you're live streaming from Facebook, like, what kind of people are you want to take into account before you decide to do that? Like, given that you can't control what people on camera are doing,
right?
And it's kind of unpredictable. What kind of things would be safer, I guess, for live streaming?
So things that are scripted, I think, are pretty safe to live stream. Things that don't require a whole bunch of people running around. I live streamed the groundbreaking ceremony for the Fuquay Welcome Center. And it could have been better. I could have not had Steve Woodall run across trying to get out of the camera shot and failing to get out of the camera shot. But that's the kind of thing that I think would be appropriate because it's happening in the moment. I know what's going to happen. They're going to go and they're going to walk up to the shovel. They're going to pick the shovel up. They're going to shovel a pile of dirt, and then everyone will clap. And I roughly have an idea of where those things are going to happen, so I can position myself in the best place and kind of predict to the best of my abilities. Now, could someone have just run across and just thrown everything off? Absolutely. But the chances of that happening were relatively controlled. That said, if you're just like in the breezeway, just live stream in the breezeway, be prepared for any and all conversations that happen between students in the breezeway. So you might want to think about that before you just randomly throw a Facebook live stream up.
Kind of related to that.
Yeah.
Are there any privacy policies, our students? We ask the students to sign away their rights.
No, they do that when they become students.
Like if you were in a class or in class.
Okay, no in class, no instruction, but anything that happens out on the campus or anything in a ceremony, or the liberal arts colloquium, something like that is fair game. But a classroom setting where an instructor is delivering instruction to students is no bueno. Yeah.
Okay, we have the honors Facebook. It's a group.
Yeah.
So it's only closed just to the honors students. You have to be a member.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have our bake sale.
Yeah.
And they'll be, under the bridge or whatever it's called now. And so could I ask them to do a little we're here selling, come on down and buy, or is that?
So groups cannot live stream. Individual people can live stream, and pages can live stream, but groups can't. Now, if the students want to individually live stream on their Facebook account and say, hey, we're here with the honors program doing a bake sale, come out and say hi, that's totally fine. They can even, after it's over, they can share that link to the group.
Okay.
But a group cannot behave in a way that a person would. So like a page can act like a person. A page can comment, can like, can share videos, can live stream. People can do all those things. Groups can't.
So if I shoot something live stream and I have my account, then I can post it on the
Yes.
group, and a student who's a member of the group can.
Yes.
And that seems fairly safe as long as I tell them, just make it you say we're doing this and no one
Yeah.
wandering around, and try to be mindful of that
Mhm.
kind of thing.
Absolutely.
How do you know if it's a verified, I mean, are most of our accounts going to be verified?
So that's actually something you have to do for yourself. If you go into the settings of your Facebook page, just the general settings, you'll see verification. There's two levels of verification. There's gray check mark and blue check mark. You only need to worry about the gray one. You just follow the steps. Usually it involves Facebook either calling you or sending some sort of message to verify that you're an actual person tied to the account. You do that out, you'll have the gray check mark pretty instantaneously. If anyone runs into trouble verifying their page, let me know and I can do my best to help step you through the process. But it's pretty straightforward. USI has a blue check mark, which means that we are what Facebook considers a governmental agency. And that's like the extra official seal of approval from Facebook. It says, no, really, this is USI, and no one else that says who USI institutionally is. The only extra benefit that gives us in terms of live streaming is if we wanted to live stream from a video camera, and we had it plugged into like a big video like producer's box, we could plug a URL into that producer's box and live stream from like HD, like actual HD cameras instead of just from a phone. But the only time we would do something like that is either commencement or if we were going to live stream a major institutional event like the Cornell West Talk, which, by the way, you should all go to because that's going to be awesome. Any other questions about Facebook? All right. Twitter, sadly, is way less in-depth and way less detailed. But there's still stuff there for you to check out, so I want to make sure you guys are aware of it. This is Twitter Analytics. To get here, you actually have to go to it. It's analytics.twitter.com. So it's part of Twitter as a whole, but it's sort of separate in its own world. Twitter built the analytics platform for one reason and one reason only, and that is to get you to buy ads. So everything you're going to see here, you need to take with a little bit of a grain of salt that Facebook is giving you this information because it wants you to buy stuff. But this information is really useful, especially if the only Twitter information you have to go on otherwise is retweets, likes, and shares. So this is the Twitter Analytics platform. So if we go back to the who they are and what do they do buckets, who they are is up here. It's a little hard to read, I apologize, but there's a link up here at the top that says audiences. And when I say that Twitter is really trying to get you to buy ads, it approaches this platform thinking that you have a product to sell. And so with that in mind, what it tells you about your audience is what you would want if you were a marketing professional. So it tells you their favorite type of TV show, which I'm sure you've all wanted to know about the people that follow you on Twitter, is what type of TV show they watch. It does tell you their demographics, so like the top language they speak, their lifestyle. They're online buyers for USI, apparently. I have no idea how we'll take advantage of that in the future, but I'm sure we will. They prefer their consumer experiences to be quick and easy, and interestingly enough, most of them use AT&T. Yeah.
How do they know the TV show?
You would be shocked as to know what people know about you on the internet.
But Twitter?
Yep.
How would Twitter know that?
Twitter follows the people you follow and the way that you interact with your followers and the way that you interact with Twitter as a whole, and it plugs all of that information into its computer brain, and it pops out all this information about you based on the way you use Twitter.
Big brother, big brother.
It's all there. And it breaks it down even further. It does give you a gender breakdown, so for USI, again, We're talking 63-37 female to male. The demographics, it will give you age range. Take it with a grain of salt because you can falsify your age on Twitter pretty easily. But it at least will tell you reported age range. And it'll break down interest. So I kind of joked earlier about the comedy thing. But, you know, Twitter's good for news, but Twitter's also really good for jokes. And if you've got good jokes, this will tell you if you've got an audience that's receptive to, like, the occasional joke every now and then. Because it's about, you know, disseminating information, but it's also people like to be entertained everywhere. No matter what platform, no matter what they're coming for, no matter what they're trying to get out of it, there's always that little bit of entertainment that people look forward to. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be like set up punchline jokes, but, you know, a little liveliness and some lightheartedness won't necessarily go unnoticed on Twitter. What they do is a little bit easier and a little bit more effective in terms of reporting. So if you go back to the homepage or up here, you'll see this little, up here on the links, you'll see tweets. This gives you this page. And the first thing I would tell you to do is to take a look at all this, but immediately go up here to the export data button, pick your date range, and export this data out. It is much easier to deal with a Twitter export than it is a Facebook export. Much, much easier. And it will allow you to customize your date range, which you can't really do that well without exporting. So that's step one. But if you just want to take a look at it without having to open Excel, this gives you a good idea of how many people have actually seen your tweets. So 28 days from when I did this slide deck, we had 165,000 impressions on Twitter in that 4-week span. Now I can go back and see if that's good, if that's bad, because I can go back the next period and see how much that's gone up, how much that's gone down. So, and it kind of gives me, it's like, all right, whatever I did here was really good. So I can go back and I can take a look at what I did on that day and see, was it anything special? Did I do anything exciting? Did I do anything silly? What prompted this spike up here? Or conversely, what prompted this dip? You know, this is roughly around school starting. So you can kind of imagine, hey, what stuff goes way up for the start of school and then, you know, plummets off a cliff for the rest of the week. But knowing the context, seeing this chart, you can start making some real, you know, informed, you know, decision making based off of the information you have. Down here, you can kind of see, it'll give you a list of tweets. Honestly, the list of tweets is much better off in the export because you can sort by date, you can sort by type, you can do all sorts of moving around and kind of analyzing the stuff you want to see. But you can also see, just at a glance, total tweets, total engagements, link clicks, and there's more. I cut it off here because it just goes all the way down the screen, and I wanted to cut it off at a place that was manageable. But Twitter analytics, if you want to buy ads on Twitter, they're really, really useful. But even if you're just interested in knowing more about your Twitter audience, they do provide the information you need to at least get a basic idea of how well you're doing on Twitter. Any questions about Twitter before we move on? Yeah. What?
I was just going to ask what the bottom bar was, the gray bars.
This or that?
Yeah.
That's number of tweets. So again, that's context. Yeah, I got a whole bunch of impressions that day. I also tweeted a bunch that day. You know, that might play into it. So the gray bars are number of tweets. The blue bars are number of impressions those tweets got.
If you want to go back more than 30 days or more than a quarter, do you do it with the last 28 days, or is it or do they ask for it in the export data area?
I think in Twitter, they ask for it here and then you export it. In Facebook, if you click export, it will let you choose your date range. Twitter will only let you view a quarter of data at a time, but it will let you go back. So if you want to do the last 3 months, you can do that. You can't do the last 6 months, but what you can do is you can do the first 3 months and then months 4 through 6 in 2 separate exports and then combine it all together. It's a little confusing, but at least they give you the data, which not everyone does. So you used to not be able to do this with Instagram at all. Like, the best you could hope to do with Instagram is pay some third-party service to scrape a data server for you and not get what you paid for because you're just getting numbers. Very recently, like within the past 3 months, Instagram has rolled out analytics. Now, there's a couple of caveats to that. One, only on mobile. So you cannot get access to Instagram analytics on a desktop yet, which means you can't export them yet. I'm sure that's coming soon, but since Instagram is and should be considered a mobile-first / mobile-only platform, it makes sense to have analytics at least start mobile and maybe remain mobile. Second is, with the launch of Instagram Analytics, they also officially came out with Instagram business accounts. Don't get thrown off by the word business. That's what you guys want. If you keep your Instagram account a personal account, you do not get access to analytics at all. It's their way of distinguishing between personal and business, and also giving businesses a little bit of an incentive to officially label themselves as such. If you sign up as a business account on Instagram, you also get access to a Contact Us button on your Instagram profile, which you can't see here. But if you go to an Instagram page or a profile on a cell phone, you'll see a Contact Us button for an account that's been labeled a business account. And you can make that a call, you can make that a website, you can make that an email. But if you have a desired conversion for your Instagram account, whether it's get people to visit a website or get people to email you for more information or call you for more information, you can set that up on your Instagram account now. But Instagram accounts now have analytics, and they look like this. And it's not as useful as it could be because, again, it's mobile first, so these are cell phone screenshots, not web browser screenshots. But you do get a good who they are. And let me backtrack real quick. To get to who they are, you see this little, you'll see just a general counting stat, top posts, and followers. For the who they are stats that you need to care about, followers, the see more followers, that's where you want to go for the who they are. And the who they are you get is really good, like really good. It's probably the best out of the three. You get a very clear amount of how many followers you've gained. You get a really good gender breakdown and a really good age breakdown. Yet again, more surprising, USI's Instagram account, 70% female, which is even more female than, more female skewed than any other social media platform we have. It's also by far the youngest. Way, 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 way more student focused. We know beyond a shadow of a doubt that the people that engage with us on social media are current, prospective, or recently graduated students, based almost exclusively on age range and gender. Yeah?
I'm just interested how many departments have Instagram. Any of you don't, but
We keep...
that.
Oh, very does. I don't.
I know my kids are on all the time, but I just know what kind of things they added.
And athletics does.
I mean, we post anything from graphics that we create to snapshots we take at games or in the building, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, followers and
We're currently at almost 2,000 followers.
And for perspective, USI is around almost 4 for scale. We keep a list of all the Instagram accounts on the website. So a list of all verified Instagram accounts has been posted to the social media part of the USI website. So if you want to take a look at some of other departmental Instagram accounts, we have a list of them up there. So this is the who they are. What they do is this top post section. And again, without export, this is a little less easy. This is a little harder to work with. But the information is still there. And it actually does a really good job of letting you see at a really quick glance what is successful and what isn't. Up here, you see where it says showing all posted in the past 30 days by impressions. each of those blue words is editable. So instead of all, if you want to say just show me photos or just show me videos, you can break it down from there. 30 days, obviously, is a time range. You can see, I think, anywhere from a week to the life of your account. And then impressions, you can sort by impressions, I believe comments. If it's videos, you can sort by views and likes. So you can see at a glance which of these photos was seen by the most people, or you can see which one of these photos was liked the most by your audience, or which of these photos was commented on the most, or which of the videos was viewed the most. Actually,
How do they calculate impressions?
literally every time you look at a photo on Instagram, Instagram puts a little check mark behind that photo. That's not unique impression. So if I look at a photo 10 times, it's going to show up 10 more times on this list. Any questions about Instagram? One thing I did not put in here at all, because it is as brand new as this, is Instagram Stories. And if you aren't on Instagram, you might not know what that is. And if you are on Instagram, you might be confused by it. I know last semester when we had this meeting, I had a bunch of people ask me about Snapchat. You know, whether you should be on Snapchat, whether you should be doing stuff on Snapchat. And it was kind of a wait and see if it works for you. Well, I think right now I can definitively say if you're not on Snapchat, don't. Go on Instagram instead. Because Instagram Stories are basically Snapchat's biggest feature imported into Instagram, which is a running live feed of photos that expire after 24 hours.
But have you looked at those stories? Because I'm friends with a lot of students on Instagram, and they're all like their Snapchat handles.
Yeah.
Okay, just so I mean that's what their stories are.
Yeah.
Is, hey, follow me on Snapchat.
Well, I can tell you.
Just telling you.
Well, I can tell you that Instagram Stories are viewed almost four times more than Snapchat Stories are.
But I mean, it's just interesting because they're using the Instagram thing to say, here's my Snapchat handle, follow me on it.
And no one's taking them up on it. Because they're watching it and they're like, hey, follow me on Snapchat. That's cool. And then they're moving
but then
on.
they're not making any more Snap or Instagram stories. They're just making Snapchat.
They're not, but other people are. And the thing is that all of those stories are being looked at, not just the ones that are Instagram. We did a Snapchat story last semester for spring commencement. And the highest view we get, and we put that everywhere. We put Instagram on social. We promoted our Snapchat account through social media. We put it up on the big screen saying, follow us on Snapchat, share your stuff on Snapchat. We put it as many places as we could. The highest number of views we got of any one part of our Snapchat story was around 250 views. And this is for spring commencement.
See, I didn't even know you guys had a Snapchat. I mean, I don't follow you on it. I'm just saying.
I mean, the thing is that we tried making that a big thing for commencement, and like you said, we put it a lot of places. So, yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that Instagram has a unique advantage as opposed to Snapchat because Instagram and Facebook are basically owned by Facebook. So when you get on Instagram, you can import all your friends from Facebook and all your contacts as well. As opposed to Snapchat, you can only add people by their username, snap code, or phone number. So that linkage alone just brings everyone over. But Snapchat has the unique feature that you can have a geotag or a geofilter or different promotional stuff that you can place over your story on Instagram.
There certainly are advantages to both, but if you don't have time to do both, do Instagram.
I think I shared with you when we were at the Blackboard conference, the Generation Z gurus, but we talked about Snapchat. And you know, I mean, this guy's speaking on a national stage. He's 17 years old. He's written a book, and he's saying his generation loves Snapchat, and that they feel like it's their way of. I'm just saying.
And what I'm saying is the data says otherwise.
I have teenagers that use Snapchat all the time, but they use it with people that they know that they chat. Occasionally they'll click on one of the random ones that pops up, you know, for a concert or something, but they're using it just with people they know. Mostly Instagram, they follow random people, random accounts.
The other problem with using Snapchat is that there's no data for you to take from it. The only analytics that we get from Snapchat are the amount of views of each individual part of a My Story. That's it. We don't really get to see any demographics of the people that follow us. We don't really get to see any demographics of the people that interact with us. And even if they do interact with us, the only interaction they can do with us is sending snaps back to us, which I'm not opening, and following us. Which, if we don't have the time to do Snapchat well, they're not going to get a lot out of following us.
Yeah, I was just trying to simplify it because I think Instagram and Facebook has more reach, Snapchat and Twitter has more engagement. And so on social media, people aren't necessarily open with everything engaging. And so people take Snapchat and Twitter more personally, while Facebook and Instagram is just, yeah, let's go see what's happening, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what he said, is that they feel like they're taking their privacy back.
Right.
Snapchat.
Well, everyone's mad at Snapchat now, though, because Snapchat is slowly getting rid of the features that made it a privacy haven. So they're looking for something else, and they're either moving off the grid entirely into Messenger or other messaging type apps, or they're just not posting anything like that at all, and they're just doing everything publicly like they do on Instagram or Facebook. So it's tricky, and it really, honestly, most people don't have the time to put that much thought. And if you don't have the time to put that much thought, go where the biggest audience is, and just try and reach an audience that's at least open to being reached. And
Who is the biggest? Facebook, Instagram?
Facebook by a county mile. But Instagram's getting there, because Instagram and Facebook are slowly becoming one and the same.
I know you haven't talked about this, but the boosting posts are putting any money into any of this.
Mhm.
Is there additional analytics?
Facebook, yes. Facebook, if you boost a post on Facebook, you get...
Anybody doing that? See much budget for that? A little bit.
You want to talk about it?
Yeah, so, sorry. We,
It's there.
So we have, in New Harmony is part of outreach and engagement. So I'm the marketing coordinator of outreach. To try and serve each group on a client. We're having a global Crossroads Culture and Music Festival in October. And last year we did $2,000 in print advertising. Didn't see a return, as we thought we would. A couple weeks ago, we dropped $10 on a post and reached almost 3,000 people just with one post, which blew all their other posts out of the water. So I think we ended up spending like cents a day.
Mhm.
We spend it over 7 days. It's a very, very high return for very cheap. So we saw a good thing on it,
Yeah.
but we're going to try and boost some of our non-credit classes this semester, see what happens with those. We've got a little money to play with, and it's pretty cheap, so we're just going to see what happens with it.
Two quick things on boosting posts. One, we've confirmed that if you want to use a P card and go through procurement, they will approve Facebook advertising, so you can purchase it off a department credit card. We didn't know you could do that. Now we know you can do that. So that is an approved cost as long as you go through Facebook, because I believe Facebook is the only one we know for a fact the charge code will fit in with procurement. Second thing is that if you're doing boosted posts, a really nice feature that Facebook Insights does is it splits that out. So if you boost a post, or if you boost a bunch of posts and then export the data, it'll split organic from paid view. So you can see, if I hadn't boosted this post, this is how many people would have seen it. But since I put $5 behind it, this is how many people more saw it. So it allows you to maintain sort of the flow of, data, while also taking your boosted stuff sort of off to its own little side and measuring it separately. That's really expensive.
Is it?
Well, it used to be. You can now promote individual posts on Instagram. I'm assuming it costs roughly about the same as Facebook. It's much harder to do, because, at least in terms of procurement, because it's mobile only. So you have to plug either a department card in to a phone, or go through, the receipt process. You can buy ads on Instagram through Facebook, which I would say not to do because that's really complex. Yeah. Buying ads on Facebook beyond boosting posts gets really nitty-gritty. Yeah.
What happens when you boost a post?
You pay money and Facebook shows it to more people.
I've used it for an organization that I volunteer for their social media. And they just post something. It'll give you an option to boost it, and then you can pick who you're going to reach. You can say you just, because right now, just because you like USI on Facebook doesn't mean you're going to see all of their posts. Facebook kind of picks and chooses what you see depending on who you interact with. So you can say, I want to show this to people who like my page, or you can say, I want to show this to people who live in Vanderbilt County who are between 18 and 25. You can get real specific.
Yeah.
I mean, you can even get so specific to say they like
Dog, yeah.
Jogging or whatever. You can pick specific things that you like or don't like.
And we for our festival posts,
Yeah.
we really narrowed into the interests of the festival. And I think that contributes to high engagement.
We didn't because there's probably good and bad to it. We didn't want to limit it. Just because they like something doesn't mean they like it on Facebook. So ours was kind of a broader thing. Yours is real specific, and they probably are likely to like something related on Facebook. Ours was kind of broad, so we didn't want to limit anything. We just did the age and the location. We had probably 10 times the view that we would have had otherwise, and we're spending $75.
Yep.
We did like 4 or 5 different ads and just spent that money to post all of them.
So it's 5 till, and I want to make sure that people do have a chance for questions. But if we want to sum the analytics part of it up, ultimately is you got to set your target. You got to know where you're aiming, what you're trying to do, but how well you're actually hitting that target is what these stats are all for. Starting with knowing what you are trying to accomplish, who you want to reach, how you want to reach them. This is how you answer the questions as to am I wasting my time or am I actually pulling this off? So if you have any questions going forward about your individual page or any analytics stuff you guys have, I'm always available by email. Don't hesitate to ask. I try my best to be quick about it too. So, and I know some people have to run, so if you have any questions, I'm free for a few more minutes, but if you need to bail, thanks for coming. And again, we have this on recording. I will get the link out to everyone once we're wrapped up here so that you guys can share it with those that couldn't make it. Yeah.
Question. On Instagram to convert it to a business account.
Yeah.
Do you have to use the email of the person who created it, or do you anybody's?
You have to be an admin of a Facebook page to make an Instagram. You have to tie an Instagram account to a verified Facebook page in order for that to become an Instagram business account. So if you are an admin of the, if you're the admin of the USI Athletics page and you go into Instagram and say, make this an official USI Athletics page, it will tie back into your Facebook post, into your Facebook pages and say, all right, which of these pages that you're an admin of is this the Instagram account for?
Gotcha.
And so you pick that one, it cross-checks it, and then you're good to go.
Okay. But you have to have the Facebook page has to be a good or
Yeah.
verified account.
Yeah. Any other questions about anything, social media stuff? All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.